度で収まったと思われたその時、映像から地震の大きな揺れは2回あったとみられます。
Let me bring back Lucy Kraft. She's our CBS News reporter. She is in Japan at the moment. Lucy, we've been watching some of those images, and just so our viewers understand, we just saw some people sort of laughing. That's a Facebook Live that we're taking in because right now the images that are necessary to report this news are not coming into us directly just yet. We are trying to get those for our viewers, so please be patient with us. What we're doing is scouring social media and bringing some of those in to share with the viewers. And you're looking at another picture there, which I'm not sure what city that is that we're showing, but the lower right, I'm told, is Tokyo, Japan. So, all right. So, Lucy, here's the question. The earthquake back in March of 2011 struck at about 2:46 p.m. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center recorded waves of up to 30 feet high that ultimately hit the Japanese coast. And then the Japanese government declared a state of emergency specifically for the nuclear power plants near Sendai, which is about 180 miles from Tokyo. Have we heard at all from the national government in Japan thus far?
No, there's going to be a news conference in about an hour and a half by the Japan Meteorological Agency. So they're going to wrap up sort of what the situation is right now, what damage there's been, if any. The government, I have to be reminded that the government is very reluctant to issue false warnings because they're very concerned about people not responding and respecting the alerts. People start to think that the government's not being serious and they're being overly cautious, then they stop evacuating when they're supposed to. So when it says in big red letters on the screen, "Run away right now," then they expect people to comply with that. Yes, we're still not seeing anything. There's no tsunami appearing yet on the coast. They're focused right now on Iwaki City, which is in southern Fukushima Prefecture, near where the nuclear power plant is that was damaged. But they're still saying, evacuate immediately. So this is very serious. We're seeing a little bit of waves now in Iwate, which is northern Japan. But we're not seeing the catastrophic waves that we saw back 5.5 years ago.
And that is certainly good news for the folks living in that region. We all remember those horrific images of the humongous waves just washing over the coast and bringing with it the ships that were in its path, debris, people's homes, and hopefully we won't see a repeat of that this time. We know obviously that millions of people were affected by this and thousands were killed, and hopefully this will not be in the order of that magnitude.
Well, we've already had a 5.4 aftershock, and we will start to have more aftershocks in the next few hours and even days. But of course, that 6.9 earthquake about 30 miles just offshore, the strongest shaking, of course, occurred offshore. But that is also what's triggering that tsunami. And so we do have the observation that the tsunami is in progress, should be reaching the shore very, very soon, if not already. And so we could see waves anywhere from 3 to 10 feet. And we could also see more than one, and that's important. That's why people are urged to get to higher ground, and they're urged to stay there until that warning is lifted. Of course, the shaking also a big concern here with the possible damage, especially right along the coast. And you can see those areas of yellow. Those are the people that felt very strong shaking, and early estimates think it's about 305,000 people right along the coast. And then these shades of green, those are the areas that felt light to moderate shaking. Of course, the imminent threat right now being the threat of a tsunami and maybe even more than one wave. And then these aftershocks, of course, Wolf, as we go forward in time.
One of the questions a lot of people have been asking in the wake of that massive earthquake in Haiti is, what about the risky fault lines right here in the United States? There are many, and they're in parts of the country you'd never expect, not just California, but places like Missouri and Tennessee. So how many Americans are in danger, and what if a huge quake hits here? Sam Champion is on the New Madrid fault line in Memphis, where there was a tremor just over the weekend. Sam?
Yeah, and George, the interesting thing about the New Madrid fault, which was one of those surprising ones, is it runs from Memphis all the way into St. Louis. So there are millions of people right in the middle of the country that are affected by that. But we went to the top seismologists in the world to find out that there actually were historic earthquake events in the United States. And believe it or not, earthquakes happen here just about every day.
The thing with earthquakes is it's location, location, location. So as we saw with this devastating earthquake down in Haiti, that was a magnitude 7 rupture, but more to the point, it was directly underneath very large population.
Just like California, where most Americans may think all our earthquakes are centered. But California's San Andreas is just one fault zone. There are at least 4 active earthquake zones that cover this country, all of which seismologists say have had historic eruptions, and each could have another catastrophic strike at any time.
Earthquakes are a national hazard, and it's in these areas away from California, away from the places we think about, where there can be some of the greatest risk.
What about America's heartland? We're on the second most active fault in the country, and that's the New Madrid fault. It runs from St. Louis to Memphis, and this is Reelfoot Lake, 16 miles long and created 200 years ago by what is still today the most powerful series of earthquakes in American history. It happened nearly 200 years ago on the morning of December 16th, 1811. An estimated 7.5 on the Richter scale. It was followed by a series of 2,000 aftershocks over the next 5 months, some measuring 8.0 and felt as far away as Boston. New Madrid is the biggest fault line east of the Rockies. It extends 120 miles through 5 states, cuts across the Mississippi River in 3 places, and slices the Ohio River in half. Even now, the area averages a tremor every other day. A major earthquake here would affect 15 million people in 7 different states. Do we think there's a big earthquake on the way for this zone?
Yes, we have a history of large earthquakes that have occurred here at least over the last 1,500 years, about every 500 years. And those earthquakes occur as large sequences of events, not just a main shock.
New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania have the 70-mile-long Ramapo Fault. These streaks are really all that's visible of the Ramapo Fault, and they continue all the way up this rock. It's one of the largest in the Northeast, and we're really just about an hour outside of New York. Never heard of it? Well, it's been quiet for a couple of hundred years, and seismologists say that's part of the problem.
We know in the future at some point an earthquake is going to occur, but we don't really understand the rules of the game yet in this area.
What we do know is the last major activity on the Ramapo Fault was a 5.2 centered in Brooklyn, New York in 1884. And if that same quake hit today, there are now 8 million residents of New York City. All could be affected by the Ramapo Fault's dangerous reach.
One important fault is the one that crosses Manhattan from the Hudson River to the East River, more or less along 125th Street. That's a well-known fault. There are tunnels constructed for the water and for the subway lines underneath that cross this fault.
And of course, there are 2 other hotspots. One, a subsidence zone that's just off the Pacific Northwest coast. It's in the water, but it's pretty active all the time. And the granddaddy of them all is the San Andreas Fault. There are thousands of earthquakes there every year. George?
Hey, Sam, thanks very much.
That was fascinating, Sam. Thank you. You said your girls were asking you this weekend about earthquakes?
You know, very natural fear. They see all these pictures. They wondered, can it happen to us? Can it happen here? I'd been talking to Sam on Friday, so I knew a little bit about the Ramapo Fault. We have a lot more information on our website at abcnews.com.